Of lately, Audi has all been about e-tron, electric. We've had the Q8 e-tron, we've had the RS e-tron, over 900 horsepower, very exciting, but nothing beats having a red rhombus on an internal combustion car, specifically this one, the RS Q8 Performance, updated for 2025, 640 horsepower, 850 Nm, and a lot of tech underneath, a lot that is due. So let's find out what all has changed. On the face of it, the RS Q8 Performance continues with stern expressions and almost no emotion. There is no smiling grille or angry air vents. It's sleek, sharp, and means business. What's new from the older version are the LED matrix headlamps with multiple DRL options, a reprofiled grille finished in gloss black with 3D honeycomb pattern, and wrapped around the grille is a massive carbon fiber frame with even more carbon fiber on the front lip and air vents as well. The bumpers are sportier and more aggressive than before, and there isn't an ounce of chrome anywhere on the car. Over to the side, the optional 23-inch wheels look stunning and help shave 20 kg on the whole. Hidden behind them are massive 420 mm carbon ceramic brake discs with red calipers. There is even more carbon fiber on the ORVMs, but the basic silhouette and dimensions of the car remain largely unchanged. At the rear, the RS Q8 Performance gets OLED tail lamps that are conjoined by an LED light bar and feature customizable DRLs, some more honeycomb pattern on the bumper, and a gloss black diffuser with carbon fiber surrounds for the oval exhaust tips. Dramatic is not something you'd call the RS Q8 Performance, despite having many oversized bits and plenty of carbon fiber trimmings. It's the perfect look, especially in this satellite grey, for the introverted car guy. Now on the inside, not a lot has changed on the updated RS Q8. In fact, the layout is pretty much the same as you saw on the older Q8 or even the RS Q8. You have the two screens in the center, the touch screens. You have the digital instrument cluster as well. Highly customizable, you can change a lot of themes and stuff in that. Of course, there's a nice white band now in the speedometer, which looks really nice and modern. Steering wheel is a nice round steering wheel, but with an RS you expect a chunky flat bottom unit. That, however, is an optional extra. What's also nice are the seats, sports seats, but they're still very comfortable. Heating, ventilation, memory, and electronic adjust, all part of the package. So you're never going to be uncomfortable in this car, no matter where you're driving. Even on a racetrack, they hold you really well. The bolstering is really nice, but it doesn't really stuff you up, so even large frame adults can definitely be comfortable in here. Equipment wise, there's a lot on offer, so here's the slate that shows you what all you get. There's a bit of customization possible in the form of contrast stitching. You can choose between a red, blue, or grey, and there's also the option of a tan leather upholstery. At the rear, the RS Q8 Performance gets enough space for 3 adults, 4-zone climate control with electric sunblinds for added comfort. But would you want to be chauffeured in a 640 horsepower super SUV? I don't think so. To find out what it's like to drive, we did a few laps around the Park Motor Castelloli in Spain, and a few laps is all it took to showcase why and how it is the fastest SUV around the Nurburgring. On a racetrack is where it absolutely shines. And if you're talking about the merit, this car holds the lap record on the Nurburgring, beating the Porsche Cayenne. That is something worth appreciation. 7 minutes 36 seconds, making it almost 6 seconds faster than the older version. So even though the power is only 40 horsepower more, there's a lot that is new. And where they've gained it is by repositioning the catalytic converter, which means you have less exhaust back pressure now. What's also increased is the boost pressure in the turbos, and it is all a bit too complicated. But the end result is a car that has virtually zero lag. Even with 2 turbos on, the response is incredible. That V8 is outstanding. Just sounds so brutish, so raw. And to think of Even the e-trons get the RS badge. Feels a bit weird. 0 to 100 kph is an astounding 3.6 seconds, and it can haul all the way to the good side of 305 kph. Audi has a reputation for making serious cars, but on this, they actually removed some of the sound insulation so you can hear the engine even more. After making all those e-trons, this sure comes as a welcome change. So like I mentioned, it holds the lap record on the Nurburgring, and as you know, handling is something you definitely need to have mastered if you have to conquer the ring. And on the RS Q8 Performance, it's all got to do with the torque. 850 Nm, but the managing of it is absolutely on point. Thanks to all the wizardry under the skin, it corners like it has identity crisis. It refuses to acknowledge it's an SUV and instead identifies as a hatchback. Many things are at play here with the active roll stabilization, all-wheel steering, adaptive air suspension sport, and the new Quattro Sport differential. Words you'd find in engineering textbooks, but with the effect you'd find in comic books. The power split is 40-60 as standard, but in case of slippage, it can send up to 70% power up ahead and 85% to the rear wheels. Then there is the electromechanical active stabilization, which is basically a motor housed between the two axles. On long straight highways, the two halves are disconnected, which reduces pitching and vertical movements. But as soon as you get to the corners, they link up again and turn the axles in the opposite direction of the turn, thereby reducing roll and keeping the car as level as possible. Sounds complicated, but when you notice the steering is on full lock and you haven't shifted your weight in the seat, it all makes sense. You just don't expect this from an SUV, from a big, heavy SUV. And it's driving on this nice technical track, almost like a hatchback. The response, the agility, and of course the grip levels. And the one thing most impressive are the ceramic brakes. 420 mm ceramic brakes up front. That's bigger than the wheel of a Maruti Baleno. As a result, even though the track is slightly damp, not the most optimum conditions, but it has absolutely no problem in slowing down. Out on public roads, however, the engine changes character in a flash. Swap from the dynamic or RS mode into comfort, and it puts the leash and muzzle on the engine instantly. You can amble through town without being noticed and also in comfort. Now, track drive is all fun and games, and it is very impressive what this big SUV can do on a racetrack. However, the conventional environment for this car is always around the city, in the town. You know, you're not going to frequent many racetracks. And in the town, it definitely feels like a normal Audi, which is not something you can say about the more hardcore RS models like this one. With that 640 horsepower, ceramic brakes, you have the sports suspension, you get a feel that this is going to be really uncomfortable or not that conventional or easy to drive in the city, but that's just not the case. Especially in comfort mode, this thing is very adept. Ride comfort is also surprisingly good given the weight and, more importantly, the massive 23-inch wheels with low-profile tires. The adaptive air suspension is compliant in comfort mode and tries its best on broken patches. However, for Indian conditions, the 22-inch ones will undoubtedly be more comfortable. What's also nice on this is the steering, the handling overall, like I mentioned, the suspension doing its trick, but the steering feel is nice and hefty as well. So you don't feel like it's a bit too light. It can get very convenient where you're in comfort or even eco mode. In the city, maneuvering this thing is not difficult at all. But when you put it in one of the RS modes, which are customizable by the way, it really becomes extremely well weighted and fluid.
What's also nice on the RS Q8 is the gearbox.
It's an 8-speed automatic, and you can't really say these things about a performance car gearbox, but it is smooth. Smooth is not something you associate with a 640 horsepower SUV. You expect the gears to be absolutely in your face, rapid. But on this, even though they can do that, in comfort mode, it is quiet and relaxed. I'm cruising at around 100, 110. It's in 8th gear and under 2000 RPM, almost a shade over 1500 RPM. It's quiet, but a little flex of the foot. Oh God, wakes up the engine real fast. There sure is a lot of tech, but it doesn't mean you need to be serious all the time to drive the RS Q8 Performance. I think the best way to drive the RS Q8 is at low speeds, because what that allows you to do is accelerate more often, especially when you're on the highway. You're doing 100, 110, it gets a bit boring. You just drop the speed down slightly, get it to about 70, 80 odd, and just jam it. And from 70 to around 120, there's not much time, but you definitely get that wake-up call. Audi has not confirmed the RS Q8 Performance for India as of now, but given the strong response of the older version, it is likely to make it back on home soil in 2025. Prices are expected to be slightly higher than the outgoing version, but you can expect it to be extremely competitive against its arch rivals, the Lamborghini Urus S and Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT. As a performance SUV, the RS Q8 ticks all the boxes. It is mighty fast, incredible to handle, and loud enough to shake up the mountains around the tunnels. It does not have the flash of a supercar or super SUV, but then not everyone wants that kind of attention all the time. For those who love the concept of a sleeper or discreet performance, it is the best that you can get your hands on. Enough space and comfort to drop your kids to school or do an airport run, and enough power to never be late for either.